What's up, Internet, and welcome to part 8 of my Niagara Program tutorial series. In this lesson, I'm going to be going over how to turn a program or programs into a module, and I'll also go over the difference between programs and modules and the pros and cons of each. So here we go. All right, so turning a program into a module is pretty simple. You go to your program palette here and you drag out program module, and then you open up the builder. And here we got a few fields to fill out. So we got a name, so we'll just call it my stuff. Description, you can just put any description you want to. Vendor would be your name, your company name, whatever. And version, we'll just call it 1.0. We'll hit save up here. So let's go grab one of my program objects here and we'll drag it in. And we hit build. And down at the bottom in our console, we'll see build successful. Go to our modules directory and you'll see I have a my stuff jar. All right, so that was a success. Let's see a failure. Let's delete this guy out. All right, I got a program right here I'm going to drag in. And I'm going to hit build. And down in our compiler, we're going to get an error, and it throws an error here. All right, so in our instance here, we've got 2 errors, and here's what it is. So it's saying, cannot access BI pollable history source is the first one. The second one is BI alarm source. So let's go into our program here. And unfortunately, I can't explain this one, so I don't even use those classes in my program, but it's saying there's a dependency for them. So what I need to do is declare them. All right, so the first one is BI pollable history source. So let's go into our help. And we'll see it's from the history module, Java X Baja history. All right, there's that one. The second one is BI alarm source. Let's do a search on that one. So BI alarm source. We'll see that's from the alarm module and the packages Java X Baja alarm. We'll go back and import that one. All right, so this is where it usually gets people. So for this to work, we need to get rid of this and re-add it. So if I build here, it's going to fail again. If I delete it, pull it back in, we get a success. You may find that your module fails to load when you try to select it in the palette. You get an error, and it may be because your module isn't signed. So you may be in a case where you need to sign your module before you can open it. All right, so now if we shut down Workbench, relaunch it, and we go to my stuff, we've got my object here. All right, so by default, we've got a generic icon it comes with. So what if we want to add our own icon? So we can totally do that. All right, in our program here, we're going to do a new field. And what we're going to do is we're going to resolve the location of the icon we want to use. So in this case, I'm going to use a dollar bill, and it's pulling it from the icons module. So if we go into our modules directory here and go to icons, we copy that. I'll just put it on my desktop. I'll create a new folder, paste a copy of this jar file in here, change it to zip. All right, we've got 2 different directories here, actually 3, but I usually just use this X16. That means it's the size is a 16 pixel image. So here's our possibilities we can use. In this case, I'm just going to use a dollar bill. All right, and that's in the X16 folder. So if we go back to our code here, we're saying we're pulling it from the icons module in the X16 directory and the name. And then to implement that, we're just going to create a method here. We call it BIcon, get icon, and we're going to return icon. All right, compile that, and we're good. All right, so we go into our module builder and we delete this, and we're going to add it back, and we're going to get a message this time saying that we're overriding the JavaX Baja sys b component.get icon. It's just a warning. All right, so we hit build, and we're going to close out Workbench, launch it again, and go to our module again, and here we go. We got a dollar bill. All right, so we can also we can add more. So we'll add another program object here, and we build it again, close out Workbench again, and here we go. So really, what's the difference between the two, and what are some of the pros and cons versus each other? So with a program object, unfortunately, every time you create one, it's a new object, whereas a module, each object is like a blueprint, and when you create more and more and more of them, let's say if you've got like these numeric points, even though there's different, we've got 4 of them, they're still the same exact object. Whereas a program object, you can have 2 of the same exact one with the same exact code, but they're treated as different objects. They're not instances of a given object. All right, we're going to drag out a program object, and I'm going to run this. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to print out the class. And if you notice, the class is equal to this. All right, I'm going to take this program, I'm going to duplicate it. This is the same exact thing. I'm going to run this one, and we get a different class. So if you had a program that's pretty complex and you duplicate it across the station a bunch of times, you're going to eat up a lot of your resources. Whereas something like this numeric point right here, it's an instance of the class. It's not an actual class itself. And so to demonstrate that, we'll run this code. So I've got some writable points here. I'm going to resolve them, and then I'm going to get their class. And then I'm also going to get the class of this program object itself. So if we run it, all these points come back as the same type or the same class. And obviously our program object has before it's got its own unique class name. So that's where you run into some problems. Like I said, if you have a program and you create a lot of duplicates of it, it's gonna eat pretty heavily into your resources, especially like if you're on a embedded device like a JACE or something. I mean, if you're on a server or something, you probably get away with it, but I would definitely, if you got a bigger program, I would compile it into a module if you're going to deploy it onto a JACE or an edge device. So the downside of a module is mainly just portability. I know all of us have run into instances where you've logged into a station and you can't do anything because you don't have some module you're missing that the device has. And if I wanted to, I could just create a bog file. You could store your programs in there and pass them around that way. I generally just run a program object. So that's pretty much it on this one. If you have any questions or comments, just drop them below, and we'll see you on the next one.